Hello, 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 and welcome to Live Well, Sister. It is your favorite brown girl, Marcie L. Thomas of Brown Girl Collective, and I'm super excited to be here on this evening for a very special episode of Live Well Sister. This is someone that I found a few weeks ago on a podcast, and I just immediately fell in love with her and what she's all about, and just all of the wonderful tools that she makes available to us as women well and be our very best. So I'm so happy to have her here with us this evening. Just as you come on in the room, please let us know where you're joining us from if you don't mind. And we're going to go ahead and get started here momentarily. So for those of you who may not know who I am, I've already said that. So now you know. But Live Well Sister is a space for women who are looking to be their best in multiple areas of their lives, beginning with their spirit, their self-care, the relationships that they have with others, walking in their purpose in their careers, making sure they get that paper right, their money right, being of service to others, and last but not least, having joy. So it's always my pleasure to bring to you people who may be experts in one or more of those areas. And tonight's guest is no exception. So just as a point of reference, our guest for this evening is Olivia F Scott, who is the founder of Freedom at the Mat for women who need a moment. And don't we all need a moment or 2 or 12 on any given day? She is a wellness advocate and certified yoga teacher who developed all content for the Essence Wellness House in 2018 and continues to work with them annually. She also creates community and workplace wellness experiences through her Freedom at the Mat Benefit Corporation. In this safe space, girls and women can stop to breathe and reclaim their destinies through mindfulness and movement. Outside of that, she has expertise as a marketing specialist through her own firm, Omerge Alliances, and has worked with a lot of companies that we would be familiar with. She may talk a little bit about that as we continue. She's also done academic research and served as a professor at a couple of different colleges, a professor of marketing. So she's a very, very busy woman, and I am especially excited to have her here with us on this evening. So without any further delay, welcome to Live Well Sister, Olivia of Freedom at the Mat. Welcome, lady.
Thank you so much, Marcie. I appreciate the invitation. I'm so happy that you have me with you and the entire community tonight. So thank you.
Absolutely. As I mentioned early on, and you already know this, I discovered you on the, and of course now it's not going to come out of my mouth.
Black girls? Is there Black girls?
Yeah, Therapy for Black Girls podcast. And as I was listening, I was like, wow, what a wonderful person. I love the things that you were talking about. I love the way that you speak and the way that you encourage others. So once I found that, I immediately followed you and had to, go ahead and find a way to reach out. So tell us a little bit about what is Freedom at the Mat and how did you find your way towards finding freedom at the mat?
Thank you. So, Freedom at the Mat, it is a wellness brand. So, the mission for the organization is to make wellness accessible to all women, specifically to women of color. But making wellness accessible and supporting us making it a priority because you can make it accessible, but then women, we're so busy, globally. For many women, since the beginning of time, for women, it's been around caretaking, whether it's our ailing parents, whether it is your children, whether it is your spouse. It's just about taking care of others. So allowing us a space that we know is ours, you can come to, whether it's an offline class or an online class, and you can prioritize your self care. Now, because I know that the whole concept of women making time and space for ourselves is foreign for many of us and it doesn't feel native, right? When we make a purchase, we're like, we want to make it for our child or our spouse or someone that we know. Making those purchases for ourselves and just making time for ourselves isn't something that's really like automatic or natural sometimes, right? So, what I've done with the content is the content ranges from literally 2 to 3 minutes with a quick reading and goes all the way up to a max of 30 minutes. We've been very intentional with the content being short form so that nobody can say, I don't have time for myself. Even if you stop and you listen to one of my really short readings and I just give you or an intention that's a minute or two, it gives you that reality to be able to say, you know what, I can give myself a minute. I can give myself 2 minutes. And if you over time begin to like, you can come back and do an 8 minute meditation or a 20-minute series with a down dog and warrior one or warrior two. So that is what we're all about. And then answering, I'm going to go a little deeper with like what we also have gotten into with this year. So I'm going to take it back to 2017. Okay. 2017, I attended the Asheville Yoga Festival and I was in a Rusty Wells class. I love Rusty Wells. He's a Bhakti yoga practitioner. Okay. And I was in a challenged relationship. I just gotten divorced in 2014, and I had never really enjoyed yoga before. I did Bikram and I'd done Hatha. I had not explored Vinyasa that much at that time. Okay. And I was attending a yoga festival, and this teacher, who's really a master at connecting mind, body, and spirit, said, you know, while you're in this difficult pose, I want you to lean into it and stay here a little bit longer. Maybe just that relationship you're going through. He said this. Maybe you stay a little bit longer. You don't come out of it. Really lean into it today. And I said to myself, Marcie, I'm leaving this situation at the mat today. All right. I'm not taking this back home with me. I keep struggling. I keep going through all these cartwheels about what I'm going to do. Am I going to stay with him? Am I going to leave? Does he really love me? I'm leaving it at the mat today. And I got home and I stayed up all night writing a PowerPoint proposal. Wow. And that's how I dream. I dream in PowerPoint, you know. So I was like, okay, this is what it originally was called, the intentional living movement. That was what I was doing, creating an intentional living movement. And the colors, the emblem, it was all there, the teal, my mother's favorite color, and the emblem, which means it's an Adinkra symbol for freedom, right? Ghana. So I was like, this is what it's going to be. Sent it to my church, Pastor Desiree Elder, and she was running the Dream Center of Harlem. And just said, here. I sent it to a friend of mine, Demetrius, and she said, this is great. You should send it to the church. Send it to the church, and within 15 minutes, she replied back and said, yes, please. Oh, wow. It was about providing free yoga classes to women in Harlem. That's what I said. And so I said, you know what? I just want other sisters to find the same freedom that I found at the mat. I want them to realize that, because in New York in particular, right, the particularity here that it's important, me starting it in Harlem, was I had a 600 square foot apartment. Okay. Most of us sisters, that's what we had in New York. And I realized, okay, either you might have a small space you're living in, or you could be homeless, or you could have a compromised space, or you could be sharing your space with anybody. And you need to dedicate time and space to yourself. So if all you have is a yoga mat, that's all you got. And I think about my sister. My sister, she succumbed to substance abuse several years. I mean, she was a substance abuse person for many years, but then she died 2 years ago. Okay. And I would say, if she had a mat, and I wrote an article actually about that, if my sister had a mat, if she had a space that she knew she could go to and really connect with her inner divine, to get rid of the demons, to just breathe, a dedicated space in her home,
Hmm.
see how much would her life have been different.
Wow.
That was really, really a big part of it because she just passed, right? And so I said, you know what, this mat thing, that may be all you have is a
Hmm.
mat, right? In your home, a space. You might not be able to get out and spend $20, $30 for yoga classes, is what we were paying in New York City, right? You may
Right.
not be able to get out and get access to that. So if I can make some content available to these sisters for free on YouTube, that's what I'm trying to do. And so then over time, right, that was 2017 when I began
Mm-hmm.
teaching.
Mm-hmm.
2018 was when we began, like, we got the formalization of the organization, et cetera, the logo, trademark, whatever. And I moved to New Orleans in January 2020.
Oh wow! Right before the pandemic.
So I plan to restart my group. I had a wonderful group of women, Kari died, Sheree, people who were beautiful and just really, really wonderful and supporting me there. Lissay, and they reached out to me when I got here because I'd already created the flyer for April 5th, was going to be my very first yoga
Wow.
class here in New Orleans. That's what we were going to be doing. And it didn't happen. So the
Hmm.
ladies from New York, right? They reached out, Sharita Cuffy in particular, and said, sis, we need you. Why don't you figure out how to do this online? Figure out how to do it. Just figure it out. You
Mm-hmm.
teach online, you teach at NYU online. So why
Right.
don't you figure it out, right? And I was like, hmm. So self-taught, everything technical, the audio, the video. My first videos on YouTube are horrible.
I understand or overstand. I know.
And I really invite everybody. I share that in particular because we've gotten now to a point where they look a little sexy. I've got a videographer that comes once a month and we film and we lay it all out. But early
Mm-hmm.
on, it was a mess, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, we began filming this content, and now we have a YouTube channel
Right.
that has over 130 videos or so. We
Mm-hmm.
are now collaborating with other wellness content creators and advocates to provide their wellness point of view because we believe that at this point, I've been iterating videos for a little bit over a year and
Right.
I really want to bring others in to share how they experience wellness. I am one woman who, I am in my mid 40s, late 40s, and I've had a certain life experience, but
Right.
there's going to be others like you and other people who, what's your wellness practice? What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what we're getting to. And so as this Freedom at the Mat wellness content was taking off, my dear friend, Gwen Jameer, was like, Olivia, when you decide to stop making this a hobby, people are gonna want to buy something from you. She's a
Mm-hmm.
masterful, entrepreneur. And I
Gwynjamere Naturalicious.
yes,
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 I know her. My mom and I use her products, so we know exactly who that is.
yes, yes, yes. And Monica said, gotta start somewhere. Exactly. Thank you so much. So Gwen and I, with my marketing business, Omerge Alliances, which is where, this is what I do for a living, the marketing stuff. I really didn't want to cross-pollinate the yoga and the wellness yoga and the marketing. But Gwen was like, listen, Olivia, she invited me to do some yoga classes for her Naturalicious Nation. And that was really generous to her and very kind. And she'd be like, what can people do to support you? And I was like, well, they can follow my YouTube. And Gwen said, Olivia, when you decide to stop making this a hobby, let me know. Like, create something, a candle, a journal, something, and let people support you. And so December of 2021,
Mm-hmm.
thanks to Gwen's urging, we launched our first ever yoga mat collection. And
Okay.
so it's a collection that features really beautiful art from artists of color, and the designs are meditation inspiring.
Absolutely.
They're intended for you to just pause, relax, and release. And what I did was I wanted to make sure not only were the mats designed from artists of color, but that they were of superb quality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys,
Important.
right, just creating a yoga mat the world, because that's the marketing part, right? The world doesn't need another yoga mat. It's saturated, and people are going to Gaiam, they're going to Lululemon, they're going to Alo, you're going to the leaders. So that would be something different. So I wanted to put beautiful images that made sense and resonated with us as women of color, but I also wanted them to be of a greater density because as a teacher, right, I have and my demographic is usually Black women between 35 and 54.
Okay.
Without fail, they're like my knees, my
Yes.
wrists, right?
Yes.
So if you know anything about yoga mats, you know that there are different densities in terms of millimeters. You have like the towel, which is 0.5 to 1 millimeter, and then you have the 2 millimeter, the 2.5, the 3, the 4, the 5. So we started with a 5 millimeter yoga mat, which is really dense, really lush. When you put your hands into it, you kind of get some shock absorption. Your knees get the support that they need as well, which is a key differentiating factor. And we also have a 1-year warranty on our mats. If you have any issues, you just let us know. We'll send you another one as well, because we really believe in our product. It's also the layer on top is a micro suede material. And I could go on and on. I can go on and on about my mats because I spent a lot of time getting prototypes from different manufacturers, wanting to make sure that we were offering a really quality mat. And then, of course, we did our pricing, to make sure that it was competitive. And the 5 millimeter mat that we're offering with the microfiber and the suede and all that, it's going for comparison with our competitors at $120. So we felt good with the price we were offering our sisters. But, what we also understand is a couple of things, right? It's not all about the yoga mat because everybody don't really like yoga.
That's true. That's
Right?
true. That's true.
Right? It's just not making it accessible. So we have a journal and we also have a candle. And our thought is that we want to socialize wellness as a concept and socialize our wealth. So this came to me, and then I'm done with my soliloquy. What I realized, because I'm just going on, clearly I don't talk much outside of teaching students.
Yes, and Monica's asking about where to get the mat. We have something for you on that a little bit, so hold tight.
Discount for February. Yes. So, and if you're just like, I want to see them right now, it's freedomatthemat.com. Go to the shop, right? You go
right, yeah, where it says website, yeah, go there. You can shop, and there will be a little bonus for you. So hold on for that part. But yes, if you just want to glance while you listen, you can do that.
Yeah. So, what's interesting to me is that I didn't want to make it all about making money, because God is my source, and I'm very grateful that God is my source. And it wasn't about making money, it was about socializing the wealth and socializing wellness. And there were a couple of things that went into this. I will tell you a really quick story about me being in Memphis, which is where I'm born and raised. And a friend had taken me out to an area that was really like in the cut. I'd never known that my people in my city lived in that way. And I was driving with him and I said, we saw such poverty, right? And I said, I wonder if these sisters over here are thinking about their emotional wellness, if they're thinking about their mental wellness. What do these sisters, what do they do for breathing? And I said, you know what? I may never reach these women directly with a yoga class. I may never get them to spend any money or time on a yoga mat. So here's what I want to do. I want Freedom at the Mat to be a vehicle, a portal, in addition to a platform, right, of content. I want sisters who do have the money to buy a yoga mat or a journal or a candle to be able to be facilitators of wellness for those sisters who may not have access or time or interest or even know that they need it. So everything, we established Freedom at the Mat as a beneficial, the organization type here. We are a beneficial a corporation here, a B Corp, basically. And so what we do is we're set up that 15% of all of our profit automatically are donated. And that's like we have to from a tax perspective, but 15% of all of our proceeds, all our profits go back into the community. And we have identified 5 specific organizations, nonprofits that serve women and girls.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes me really happy that, we're not just trying to, and it's fine. I mean, organizations, we all have to make money. We're all in business. So there's something wrong with making money. Nothing wrong with making money. But I didn't want that to be the sole purpose. I wanted it to kind of be a facilitator of wealth and wellness as well. So if you are, and I had a sister reach out recently, she bought a couple of mats. She's like, I'm not into it, but I know some people who are, and I know that spending my money with Freedom at the Mat is going to support the organizational effort for A21, Grace House of Memphis, New Orleans Family Justice Center, and then 2 other organizations as well. So that was Dream Center of Harlem being one, and the other one being Tyler Salud in Puerto Rico. All organizations that benefit, this effort. And so we are a benefit corporation in the state of Louisiana as well.
All right. Well, that's wonderful. And you hit some of my questions. You answered without me having to ask. So thank you.
I'm sorry. I was just like on a roll, and I was like,
That's okay. That's okay. Monica's saying she does like yoga. It saved her life. And yeah, and that's true. Because, when you were saying that, I know people who don't really like yoga. I enjoy it. But, one of the things you already spoke to is that sometimes if you're trying to go to, a yoga studio on a regular basis, it's pricey, and for some of us, that's just not really in our budget. Or even if it is in our budget, so we, like I was saying to you before we came on, I have a full-time job, I do this, I do book club, I'm reading, I'm in my sorority, I do a lot of things. So sometimes just the scheduling of being able to go to a class doesn't work. So that's one of the things I love about, your platform, because I can go to YouTube and pull up a video and watch and, practice, what I need to practice in terms of yoga. But I'm going to be honest with you. What I really, really love about you is like the meditations.
Oh, really?
I really enjoy the meditations because the reality of it is, even if you're a person who doesn't like yoga or isn't familiar with yoga or whatever the case may be, we can all take time to get, center ourselves and, sit and, close our eyes and, just become one with ourselves and one with our creator. That's something that we all can do no matter what. You can do that if you're sitting at the job and people are getting on your nerves. You can kind of like close your eyes. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I feel like that person that even yoga may not be accessible, that quiet time is accessible to any of us.
And may I expound on that for a moment?
Yes, please.
Since I've already hijacked all your questions, I want to ask permission that I ask. But, early on, as a marketing person, I'm always looking at my stats. And I found that the meditations were getting more viewership and I was getting longer duration with them. And as much as I and Monica, right, we love yoga, I realized that a couple of things, there are a couple of barriers. Number one, physically, not everybody wants to and is able to do yoga. So that's fine. There's no judgment. Also, as a Christian woman, I'd approached a church, and because my church in New York was very supportive, FCBC Harlem, shout out to them. But I'd reached out to another church, which will remain nameless, and said, hey, I'm having such amazing success with presenting this as a platform to the women of my church in New York. I'd like to present it to your church. And the minister was absolutely against it and said that it was demonic. And he questioned the origins of it as not being Christian. Right? That's what he did. And I was like, what? Right? Because that's where my mind was. But I did some more research, and anybody can Google on YouTube or YouTube and look for Christians for yoga or Christians against yoga. And there's a whole tribe of folks who are spreading the word and who believe as well that yoga is satanic, that yoga is demonic, that when you do certain chants that you are ushering in certain spirits. And at first, when I first saw the first video, I was like, this is ridiculous. But one of my closest friends said, no, 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 no. You need to know the barriers so that you
Mm-hmm.
can basically combat against them. So, one of the things that I made sure that we do is in our meditations, as much as when I go and I don't mind doing an Om Shanti, I don't mind that. Other sisters who may have had a different life experience, no judgment, they may have issues with that.
Right.
So, for me, my meditations are just straight up, sister to sister. I'm going to pull a reading from one of my source books, which is not Christian based, right? So I may
Mm-hmm.
use Meditations from Conversations with God from Neil Donald Walsh. I may use Marianne Williamson's A Year of Miracles. I may use another really amazing book by Sarah Ban Breathnack. But I use different source books that are just from authors and people who are enlightened, but it's not necessarily from the Quran or from any the Torah or from the Bible. It's not really from
Mm-hmm.
any particular religion, so that it's accessible. I don't want anyone to come on and I've had this conversation with other people where they're saying, well, what do you stand for? Are you a Christian woman or not? I'm like, or even from a yoga, I've had this conversation with a woman who's, a South Asian woman who is just like, you're not representing yoga fully because you're not going so hard with the chanting. And I'm like, okay, people. Okay.
Right.
This is my choice because my real mission is to just make it accessible.
Right.
And, that's what human beings do. We get into all these different silos that end up separating us. And then when you
Mm-hmm.
separate, you can say, well, I can't do that because I'm this. I even had a dear friend of mine. I'm going to stop, give you a moment. Um, I'm having
Like
so much
sips
fun.
tea or sips water. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I had a sister friend a really good friend of mine, and I said, I would like for you to come to my early on 2020 when I was just spiraling out of control, doing Zoom classes and all kind of stuff here in my apartment. I said, I'd love for you to come to one of my classes. Would you mind? And she says, I don't think that that's something that God would want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, tell me more. And she said, well, I'm a Christian. I'm a minister. I don't feel comfortable. I don't think God would want me to engage in that as a Christian woman. And it was enlightening. It was
Mm-hmm.
enlightening. And so that kind of helped me understand that we want to make sure we're removing any barriers because you know what? While many African American women happen to be Christian, many of us are not. And
Yeah.
that's all right. But that's not what this is about.
Right. Absolutely. And Margaret just said, all well, catch her first one. All true practices have some form of the golden rule. That is so true.
That's it.
Very true.
That's it.
She also said, Monica says, there are many lanes, pick yours and go with it. What I love about this space is no judgment. Absolutely. And that's one thing I just want to say. Just a couple of points about my own self. I was not a person who grew up in the church, but my family, Christian by and large, pretty much still are. And
Right.
I actually spent some time in seminary. And during that time, one of the things that I learned, one of the other guests I interviewed said that people say that seminary is where Christians go to die or something to that effect. But basically, from the perspective of, at least for me, you learn so many different things, and you learn it's not just your denomination, it's not just your way of worship, it's not just your spiritual practice. Because when I think of meditation, I think of spiritual practice. I think of getting silent, and sitting with God. And, what you say or what you think or what's going on through your mind, it's what you choose. It doesn't have to be what someone else is doing. And it's like, I feel that whether it's yoga or meditation or therapy or whatever it is, a lot of times there are things that can help us, but
Right.
we have so many blocks that we miss our healing because of the block. And
Yeah.
you can chew the meat and spit out, the other stuff, but
Yeah.
get the good things about it, you know, and learn to sit and be peaceful. And you know, you can pray to God during that time, you know, whatever it is that you need to do for yourself. But it doesn't mean you just throw the whole thing away just
That's it.
because. But yeah, I know all about the yoga and the Christian, because you know I've heard it. You
No,
know that no, you don't do that. I have a good friend of mine who, you know, same thing. She's like, she and I could talk about different things, whether it was yoga or, you know, something about chakras or, you know, whatever it is. She and I would have these conversations, but she's like, I can't have those conversations with my family because they would freak out. You know,
that's
and
it.
we both go to church, you know, we both believe in God, you know, all of these things, but it's just there are ways, because I feel that for us as Black women specifically, because that's what I am, that there are a lot of ways that we can learn to live well and get to our best place in space. There are a lot of different ways you do a little bit of gate that, and you know that doesn't mean that you don't love God or that you're not a Christian. And that's the end of my soliloquy.
There we have it. There we have it. I believe our beliefs are our beliefs, and we all reserve the right to have our beliefs. But when it comes to getting this wellness, I want to remove any possible barrier for that, whether
Mm,
it's income, whether it's time, whether it is access. You know, when I was in Harlem, that was one of the things I also did was I really pushed for us to have childcare with my classes. We
mm,
weren't able to realize it just based on the way that the center was structured, and they just couldn't we couldn't have that type of situation with the kids. But I'm beginning in New Orleans to figure out where I'm going to begin to have my classes here, and it's actually a goal. But one of my
mm.
dear friends is like, you've got to figure this out by the end of the first quarter, where you're going
Mhm.
to teach classes, whether it's going to be at a church, whether it's going to be at a community center, whether it's going to be at a yoga studio. And I want to have the option for childcare because, again, we sisters, that's one of the first, well, I got my kids, I got, and that's, I'm grateful that you're blessed to have those beautiful children, but let's still make sure we're taking some time for ourselves.
Absolutely. And that is just so important, because as you know, you said earlier on, we know to be true, you know, we're taking care of everybody else, but we're not always taking the time that we need for ourselves to really just center ourselves and figure out who we are. You know, a lot of times, you know, we're so worried about who somebody else thinks we are that we don't even know who we are.
That's it. That's it. Instagram.
Right. You know, what does this person think, what does that person think, but we don't know who we are. um just going to shift gears a little bit. The very first conversation that I heard you when you were with Dr. Joy was you were talking about journaling
Yes.
specifically in
Yes.
that conversation. How important do you feel that it is for women to take time to put things on paper, their thoughts, their feelings, their dreams, whatever? How do you feel
Well,
about that?
you already know what I'm about
I
to.
already know, but they don't know.
I know. I know. I mean, it is what has led me to live the life that I live today. Free your mind and the rest will follow, right? I believe very strongly and fervently in us without a specific prescription about what journaling looks like. Because, right, what's happening now is that many of us who are entering into a wellness self care practice, we are trying to figure out what wellness looks like for us and what journaling looks like for us. And you may look to the left or to the right, and a lot of times in general, we are sheep in general, fine. And in that, we're looking for someone to tell us the way.
Right.
And what I say is, there is no right way to do it, just do it. If it's one day a week where you write down your thoughts, we have journal juice on our Instagram for Freedom at the Mat. We have journal juice every Saturday where we give you juice for your journal.
Okay.
Right. So if you're stumped, because I've met a lot of people who they're just like, I know I should journal, but I don't know what to say or what to do. And we find consistently that we get the most saves every single week. People love our journal juice. So to answer your question in a direct fashion, I would say it is extremely important. It is around figuring out what works for you. I shared with Dr. Joy, and I'm going to share here as well. There are some days I don't journal. So I'm not an every single day journaler. And my journal entries look a little crazy. What I journaled last night was ridiculous. It was a sentence, but it was something on my spirit and on my heart and on my mind. I just had to get out. I feel this and I'm nervous about this. That was my journal entry.
Mm-hmm.
But when I go back and I look at that, and I do recommend, it's a scary thing to do. It's a scary thing to do, to go back and see, what did you write? What did you write a couple of weeks ago? What did you write a couple of months ago?
Mm-hmm.
And it's valuable, I think, Marcie, because so many times we're living life in a way that is autopilot, doing a lot of sleepwalking.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not realizing that we're repeating the same patterns,
Right.
we're repeating the same decisions,
Mm-hmm.
and we're finding ourselves in the same situation. I share with most people, I don't mind. My greatest area of opportunity is romantic relationships, right? It's just an unhealed place for me. It's a place where I feel completely nervous. I feel scared. I don't like necessarily being vulnerable, right? And so it's a space that I really have to work on. Career, teaching, work, all that, I'm good. I'm good. But that's a space I'm not comfortable with. So I share that to say, when I go back and I actually look at what I've written about a person I've been dating, or my issues with relationships over and over again, I should be ashamed of myself. But I'm not going to shame myself, because that wouldn't be kind to me.
Right.
But it does chronicle for me now that I'm saying, okay, I really want this type of relationship in my life. Now it's making me really stand up and say, okay, Olivia, you've been writing about this type of person you want, this type of relationship you've wanted for the past 10 years. Right? Are you gonna get over the hurdles? Are you gonna pass the obstacles to actually get there? But that comes from the journaling.
Right.
If I weren't being present, right, which is what I think Margaret was just saying, it's a wonderful way to stay sane. If you're not being present and you're not writing down the things that you feel that you need to do in your life, you're never going to be able to, and the things that you are and what the life experience is you're having, you have no way of documenting and chronicling what's happening in your life. My therapist, which I'm a huge fan of course, talk therapy as well. My therapist told me years ago, he's like, the schism, if you will, the distance between what happened and what you think happened is really vast if you don't document it in some way. So in the moment, right now, I know how I'm feeling in this moment. And right after we finish, I can go write in my journal. I had the most amazing blessing happen to me today. Marcie Thomas, she invited me to be a part of her Live Well podcast, not podcast, but her moment, her experience, right? And it was a beautiful blessing. I'm so grateful for this experience.
Thank you.
Now, and thank you. That's my sincerity, right? Now, 2, 3, 4 days are gonna go by when I'm gonna have the gamut of other feelings and experiences that are gonna kind of cloud what happened today. But if I want to just kind of capture and chronicle that experience, the best way to do it would be to honor that. And, as Margaret's saying, to stay sane, to really honor that moment
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, wow. And then I can reflect upon that when I have a poor day. And there are times when I go back through my journals and I'll be like, ooh, that was a blessing that you had that experience.
Absolutely.
That was cool, So
I really love that you said as a tool of like growth or, just to see, because, well, I have one of mine here. It's not even finished, but, I have this one and then I have this too, and that's one of the other things that you said, the way that you journal, it doesn't have to be this, you
right,
know, it
right.
can be this, it can be, anything that you choose that you want to, write your thoughts down. But it is just interesting because I have been guilty of, okay, I said that 5 years ago. I still feel that way. That's still happening. Like, oh my God, like what is going on?
Yep.
So that just lets me know that that's an area where I do need to work or, figure out how to move past the fear or whatever the case may be that's keeping me from pursuing relationship or pursuing a certain type of job or, whatever it is. Because, I mean, to be quite honest, what I'm doing right here, right now, this is a manifestation of not necessarily something that I journaled, but something that I dreamed as a child,
Wow.
of wanting to be able to connect with Black women because I've always had, I'm a girl's girl. I mean, it is what it is. I've always wanted to do something that supported women and girls, always, even from a shorty, as they say. I always did. I was that girl who would always be the mentor to the girl that was younger than me. So
Okay.
that's always been who I am. And I don't have any children. So, for me, it's like one of my friend's daughters actually said to me once, she was like, oh, I don't have kids, whatever. And she's like, well, God purposed for you to have the life that you have so that you can do the things that you're doing. Because perhaps if you had, a husband and 11 kids, you may not be doing this. And think of the people that you get to touch. Think
Yes.
of the people that you get to, inspire, doing what you're doing. So yeah, that would be great, but that wasn't your path.
Thank you for that. And I am 100% what you said is my life as well, because I spent a lot of time feeling remorseful, regretting, and being concerned about my life as a woman, not
Mhm.
having given birth to children. But when I look at my impact to my students who I treat as my children, and I really, are you okay? What's going on? You weren't in class. You know what I mean? Like, really, do you understand this? Do you realize the impact of this on your life and your career, whatever? Between that and between Freedom at the Mat being one of my babies,
Mhm.
I take this responsibility very seriously to support women. And, if we go biblically, we know that biblically it tells us that, and I'm going to mess it up because I'm not the Bible quoting person, but something around the responsibility of a married woman is her children
Mhm.
and is her husband. But for those who are single, it's the work of the church. Now, we're going to use the word church a little loosely,
Right.
right? To say it's community and it's supporting others. And so I love that I'm able to support women who they need someone dedicated to their hearts and
Mhm.
to their desires. So I love being able to support busy moms and making sure that we're making space for them and reminding them with a tagline for women who need a moment. And that does span career women like you and myself and many of my friends, but also women who have children and who are, I have another woman who she doesn't have, very close with her, she doesn't have children, but she's got an ailing mother that she has been, and another cousin who's caretaker of an ailing father. And they have been in these predicaments for 10 years,
Mhm.
right? Where they needed to have something, some resource to be able to tap into for themselves. So
Mhm.
embracing our mission, Marcie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As Monica says, embrace where you are. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because we can. And I mean, this may be, my thing and Olivia's thing, but a lot of time it could be other things for someone. It could be, oh, I didn't get this career, or I didn't do this, or, you know, I will say this, honestly, for me, because I'm a little older than you are, once I hit the spot where I knew I wasn't going to birth babies, it was actually kind of a good thing for me at that point, because it now I know that when I pursue a relationship, it doesn't have to be about that. It will be about me making sure that that person is the right person for me and the right fit for where I'm going in my life, and that we can build and create and expand and change the world together. But it's not specifically about that, because I found, and this isn't even about that, but just being real, I found that when it was about that, some of the choices I made were horrible.
Yeah. You and me both. Oh my gosh, there's one that's very well documented in my family. They were like, "What were you doing? What is that about?" And it was because he was a very fertile, strong-looking man, and it looked like if I was going to be able to do it, that was going to be the one, right?
Right. So now, yeah, the choice doesn't have to be about, oh, my clock is ticking, let me hurry up, and this looks good. Yeah. So, but yeah, but yes, being able to, as Monica said, embracing where you are and just learning to take this time, because I mean, really, that's what the overall conversation is about: being able to take time and understand who we are, and have that moment on the mat, or on the chair, or sitting on the floor, or whatever the case may be, and just really knowing who we are for ourselves, as ourselves, and not always what someone else wants from us or expects of us.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, I do have a question though, and this is kind of going back. One of the things, a comment, and you can expand. I love the fact that it's freedom at the mat, especially as a woman, because we seek freedom, but even more so as a Black woman, because there are so many things that seek to stifle us or combine us, or I can't, the word's not coming out right, just keep us locked up.
Yeah.
We're supposed to conform, or we're supposed to be a certain thing or behave in a certain way. And I love the idea of freedom.
Everybody loves the concept. I love it. It's been, I'm so grateful because I told you the way it came to me and I just went with it. And the number of people who just love the name, people who get the concept from what it is. And, people also get, and I try to help them understand it's freedom at the mat. We got a little preposition on and at. It was around meeting the freedom at the mat for me that day. And I was grateful because there actually are a couple of freedom on the mats that are already out there, right? Doing different things in India, just different things. But for me, it was around connecting with my freedom at the mat, So I am grateful for the concept. I'm grateful for everybody who is on their own personal quest, Marcie, to be freed of anything holding them back from living their very best lives. And that freedom, it could be physical, where you physically are wanting something to liberate you. You may have an ailment of some kind or whatever, but even just emotional and mental. Being able to find that freedom at the mat.
Absolutely. Because any major change that you're looking to make in your life, it starts, with a thought. And so being able to get quiet and get those thoughts, and to, write them down, whether it's writing the vision, the Bible talks about that, writing the vision and making it plain, or just sorting through the things that are going on within you by writing it down. It all kind of starts from there, and then, kind of expands out. So, yeah. there is power in that, in the things that you're doing and teaching others to do. So I love it. For those of you who are watching, you see everything is streaming at the bottom. So, you know, the YouTube channel, you follow her on Instagram, and of course, definitely make sure you visit the website as well. Now, I know that you were talking about some classes that you are looking to do. Is there anything specifically that people should be on the lookout for from you, Olivia?
More collaborations on YouTube. But that's really what we're focused on, because while I am based in New York, based in New Orleans, I still have a base in New York for being in New York for 20 years. And I'm still back and forth. And I'm also from Memphis. And so what I found, when we look at our data, again, marketing people, I'm finding that we have a reach as far as West Africa. Ghana is a really strong community for us, as well as Jamaica and Kingston. So for me, I don't want to limit what we do to just having classes here in New Orleans. It's really important to me that we continue to provide wellness content to women all over the globe. And as you and I both know, there are Black and brown women all over the globe.
Everywhere.
So it's really important to me that we continue to expand the types of content that we offer and the collaborators that we connect with to offer that content. That to me is going to be key. We're going to keep it pretty finite around the products we offer. We are planning, I just talked to my designer earlier today. We're going to work on some new designs. I have another design already ready to launch in Q2 from Diane Smith, an abstract painter from New York City, who's world renowned. I love her. She's the next one coming out with a design, but we're also going to work on some additional designs as well. So.
Okay. Well, that sounds wonderful. We have another comment here. This comment is from one of my faves, because she's always here, Paula. Thank you for a wonderful discussion. Yoga and meditation to me is self-care and surrounding oneself with positive energy. Absolutely. I agree.
Thank
I
you
agree
so much.
wholeheartedly. Well, I have two more things that I want to do first, and this is going to require me to take us off of the screen for a second, and I'll let you kind of explain it first, and then I'll show everybody so they can make sure they have the information.
Okay.
You have a special deal for BGC, so listen up.
So for the month of February, we're inviting everybody to dedicate some time and some resources to self-love. So you will get 15% off automatically on our website. So if you go to our website, no code needed, you go directly there right now, you will be, and just through the end of February, you will have access to anything you want to purchase, the journal, the candles, the affirmation cards, and the tanks, or the actual yoga mat. And the kit, I should mention, the Freedom Kit connects and combines actually the yoga mat with the journal and the candle for one fee. But everything is offered 15% off for self-love.
Okay. And then there's a special for the shipping. I'm about to pop that up. Hold on one second, guys. You know, I am doing it all by myself, so hold on.
Yes, we do have. The code is BGC, and you're going to get free shipping. So I hope you guys take advantage. I really, really do. The mats are beautiful, and it's a way in which we're able to give back to our community. So hope you can use that code and get your free shipping too.
Back. So there you go. So you all, and I will put that also on Facebook as well as Instagram so people can see it, because there may be people who watch later or whatever the case may be. So go ahead and get in where you fit in. Get that 15% off, which is a great deal in and of itself. But the free shipping is even more gooder. I know that's not proper English, but it is what it is.
I love that.
One last thing, and I know I did not forewarn you of this, but one last thing, because you are so wonderful at what you do you mind just doing just a little brief kind of meditation, or just kind of speak a word to us where we can just get quiet and centered for a moment, and you just speak love into us for just a moment?
Absolutely. So I invite everybody, thank you so much for the invitation to do that. So if everybody can just calm your spirit for a moment, find a point in front of you that's unmoving, or close your eyes. I invite you to close your eyes, but not everybody is comfortable. We want to make sure that we are trauma sensitive, right? And environment sensitive. So either close your eyes and focus your gaze, your inner gaze on the space between your two eyebrows, or the tip of your nose, whatever gives you more comfort. Tip of your nose is a little bit more relaxed for your eyes versus focusing on the inner gaze between your two eyebrows, or focusing on something unmoving. Go ahead, relax your shoulders, draw your shoulder blades back and down your spine, open your chest. Spine is erect, abdominals contracted, and just find your breath very simply. Inhale and exhale. And I want you to think about one way in which you can show some self love and some grace to yourself. Is there an area in your life in which you've been beating yourself up? Perhaps there is something you have been trying to get accomplished, but you haven't gotten it accomplished, or it's not been happening quickly enough. Or perhaps there's some regret or lament from your past, and you are just hung up on it. You won't forgive yourself. You cannot move forward. I invite you to take hold of that thing, and with me, and with that item in your mind, inhale for 4 breaths, hold for 2, exhale for 4. With that as your focal point. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2, exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. Once again, inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2, exhale 4, 3, 2, 1. And if you will, with me, go ahead and take your hands, the palms of your hands, bring them to your heart center, thumbs close to your sternum, and gently bow your head, tucking your chin to your chest. And in this moment, give a release to yourself. Give yourself some grace, even if it's a little bit of grace, for not being able to get something accomplished that you wanted to get accomplished, or taking one step closer to forgiving yourself for something that you might have said that you didn't mean to say. It was an honest, innocent mistake that you made. Or for doing something that at that time felt like a great idea. But now that you look back on it, it wasn't so much of a great idea. Put that in your mind and that in your spirit. Inhale and exhale. And set your intention right now to continue your self care practice that nourishes your soul every day. Namaste.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I
You're welcome.
appreciate that so much.
You're
So
welcome,
much.
sister. You're welcome.
Yes, and I'm sure that everyone else did as well. Because sometimes, and as I was saying earlier, that's as simple as it is, just to take a moment.
That's it.
That's it. So thank you so much for that. As everyone, go ahead and go shop while you can, get in where you fit in, get some things. Because remember, it's not just for you, it's going to support all the wonderful women that may not have access to these types of services. It's going to help them to get it as well. So please go and support and continue to follow Olivia on all of the socials. Make sure you get in on that YouTube channel as well, because are wonderful, yoga exercises, meditation. She does interviews like I do here, just a lot of great content that she's putting out there in the world for us. So thank you again, Olivia. I hope that this is just the first of more times that we'll get a chance to connect.
Yes. Thank you so much. I appreciate you sincerely.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm going to let you go, but in the meantime, I'm going to announce actually the next two people. Because
Okay.
next week I'll let you see, because next week is kind of like a continuation of what you were doing. So hold on 1 second.
Okay. I'm here.
Get my little banners together. Next week, we are actually going to have Faith Hunter, Spiritually Fly, next Thursday at 8:00 p.m. So I do have something you can see it better, but she's coming next week.
I'll
So
be back.
yes, we're going to dive even deeper.
Yes.
And now I did not create one for her yet, but the week after that, we're going to have Cole Arthur Riley, who runs Black Liturgies on social media. So her book is coming out. It's about spirituality, liberation, and the stories that make us. So yes, honey. I see the look on your face.
We love you. We love you for this. You're curating some incredible women. Faith is somebody who I call her the godmother of Black yoga and wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And we're actually on Freedom at the Mat on Instagram. We're following that Spiritually Fly book every week with our Breathe With Me and following sutras. So we just finished sutra number 4 last night. She's got 7 sutras. You'll hear all about them next week.
Right. Yes.
Fangirl of
yes.
her in that book. So
yes, and I actually saw that you followed her on social media. So I'm like, oh, I know you're going to be excited.
Yay! Yes, absolutely excited. Yes.
Right. And one of my closest friends, she told me a while ago, if you ever get Faith, girl, I'm no sure I'm going to be there. So as soon as I booked her, I'm like, guess who's coming?
Right. No. And then the person Cole, what's your full name again? I want to follow that book.
It's Cole Arthur Riley.
Okay.
And on Instagram, it's Black Liturgies.
Okay.
So yes, we are kind of in a spiritual vein for the next few weeks. We'll get into some other stuff, but it just so happened that this is where we are right now. So because our sense of spirituality and our sense of self within spirituality is the center of a lot of other things. So yeah.
Wonderful.
This is where we are for right now. So everyone, I know it went a couple minutes longer, but it was also worth it. So thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. Go ahead and follow Olivia, do a little bit of shopping, and I will look to see you all very soon next week. So take care and have a good evening.
Thank you, everybody. May God be with you. Thank you, Marcie, so much.
You're welcome.
God continue to bless you.
Same to you, sis. All right. Bye-bye.